Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and today I'm doing an old Manga Monday video that I didn't do. And hopefully this will go up before the end of the month because it is a Halloween themed Manga Monday. This is a recommendation list of titles that are kind of Halloween appropriate but aren't really scary. So things that you can kind of enjoy this season but you won't have nightmares from. So I just wanted to recommend to you a number of titles. There's lots of really cool titles you could read. I certainly have a pretty big stack here next to me. I don't actually know what's in this stack because it's been sitting here for a while and it's been a while since I looked at these books, so we're going to see what I'm going to recommend to you. But there are so many titles that I could actually potentially recommend, so don't think that this is sort of all you could read. There's tons out there. I am going to try and recommend some titles that are in print, but I think most of the titles that I'm recommending today are not. If I can find any publishers who have digital copies of these available, I will put the links of those titles down below, so definitely go and check it out to see if you can actually access these things somewhere legally. Anyway, I'm just gonna get into it and recommend to you some Halloween-ish, not scary manga. The first story that I'm going to recommend to you, I don't know if I've ever seen it at a secondhand sale, so I don't know how easy it is to get because it is out of print. But that is Magical Miracle. This is by Yuzo Mizutani. It doesn't look like it, but it is actually a josei manga, which is a manga written or kind of marketed to adult women. And maybe that's the reason why I like it so much. It's basically the story about this girl on the cover, Merlot. She is an aspiring sorceress, and she is traveling now to the town to go to sorcery or magician school. While she is there, kind of standing on the street, she is seen as the spitting image of their master wizard. And the master wizard has currently gone missing, and so she is convinced by the people sort of around the royal family to take his place, because as the master wizard is not there, he kind of is the pillar of the kingdom, and if he's not there, then that will kind of bring misfortune on their kingdom. It can definitely encourage marauders or people coming in from outside the kingdom to come and take over. So they just want her to fill in during that time. It's sort of a Prince and the Pauper kind of thing. And so it's really just her time pretending to be this master wizard while she's also an apprentice wizard at the time, so she doesn't have that skill. And just sort of the friendships that she makes with the people around her. It is a good story, I think, for Halloween, partly because it is about witches and wizards, but also because the costuming in this series is so great. Every time I read this, I think, people really should have cosplayed this. It is a little late to be cosplaying because I think nobody would know who you are, but there's some really great costumes in this particular story. As for this type of story, I have read this sort of plot before, but this one it doesn't take it too far. It is a pretty short series. And it's over fairly quickly, so it's an easy, quick read, which I always really appreciate. So I have read it actually quite a few times, just because you can get through it so quickly and it doesn't overlabor any of the cliches that you would find in this particular type of story. So I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun to read, and it does have just sort of a slightly different feel than a lot of kind of magical fantasies that you would read. Particularly like fantasy school type stories. Another story that I would recommend, and this one is out of print, but you can get it digitally off of, I think, the eManga website, so I will put a link down below. This is Start with a Happy Ending by Risa Motoyama. This is a seinen manga. It was published in a Yonkoma magazine, which is actually a comedy magazine, but it's anything but comedy. It is basically about people in their last moments of life, at that sort of moment that they're about to die, the cat god, I think some sort of a cat god, comes to them and says, you can die now if you feel like you've wrapped everything up, or I can give you an extra week, but you have to live it as a cat. And so a lot of these people are coming at their end of their life with unresolved things. They just have one last thing that they want do before they die, and so they often choose to live their last week as a cat. So that's basically what this story is, but it just has this very like whimsical, magical feel to it. It's very melancholic just because it is about the last moments of your life, but it is sort of hopeful too, in that you have this opportunity to resolve those lingering things that you needed to get done. It's really charming and sweet, and unfortunately just didn't go any further than this single volume, but you don't need more than a volume. It's not a plot-heavy story. It really is just episodic stories about people at the end of life, which just seems really suitable for Halloween. Quite a bit longer series that I recommend is The Wallflower by Tomoko Hayakawa. This is a reverse harem series, so it's about one girl surrounded by a whole handful of beautiful boys. I think there's 4 in this one. Essentially, the girl is kind of plain and into things that most young ladies aren't into, so she's into like horror movies and skeletons and bugs and like just gross things, and you find out that you know, she has a real aversion to things that she believes are the light, so anything that seems too beautiful or too kind of cheerful, she just would rather not have any association with. It has something to do with a past relationship with a boy who treated her really poorly, and so she has sort of recessed into herself. And her aunt is concerned about her and wants her to be, you know, a young lady, and so has basically hired 4 beautiful boys from her high school for free rent at their place to try and convince this girl to basically become a young lady, to transform her and bring her back out into the light. I do have some issue with the situation just because I think that any person can be into whatever they want and it should be totally fine. It does not, you know, negate the fact that you're a lady, even if you're into horror things. I don't really understand that, but it is a funny situation and I think it's really cute. It does take a long time for her to warm up to the boys, so you do have to be quite patient with this series, very patient with this series, but it really kind of does go both ways. You know, she does start to see herself more as part of their friend group slowly, and they also get used to her too, so there's a little bit of that. This story is you know, Halloween appropriate because of the way that Tsunako is drawn, her interests and her hobbies. Certainly, you know, this is the character as she is often drawn in the story. But when there is a situation that calls for it, she actually turns into this, you know, magnificent, powerful, beautiful character. And she can kind of throw down anyone who kind of steps on her. So it really is a fantastic series and a lot of fun. And if you're into reverse harem romance stories, this one is good for a giggle. A series I haven't recommended in a long time, but I have talked about quite a bit on this channel before. This is The Recipe for Gertrude by Nari Kusakawa. Nari Kusakawa is a unique mangaka. Her art style is quite angular and different than anything else that I've read. But this is basically a Frankenstein story. So it is about a boy named Gertrude, and he is the composite of a number of parts of different demons. So different demon parts have been stolen, and he's basically the new creation. At the beginning of the story, he's actually being chased by demons who want some of their body parts back, and that does seem to be kind of some of the plot of the story. And in his kind of escape, he does meet a human girl who has more to do with his creation, I think, than you would kind of be led to believe. They form this really cute friendship / romance, and it's just sort of like really delightful and fun. I really liked it a lot, and I like the mystery and the intrigue and the way that his whole kind of backstory is put together. So I just really have a lot of fun reading this one, and you know, if you are looking for kind of a Frankenstein romance, this one would work. As long as I'm making Halloween movies, this one will always make the list. This is Koa by Akira Toriyama. I have recommended this numerous times, and if you haven't read it yet, now's your opportunity. It is available digitally from Viz, and it is a single volume comic. It is kids appropriate. It's basically the story about Paifu. Last time I said that this was Paifu. That's Jose. This one's Paifu. He is a half were-koala, half vampire, and Jose is his best friend who is a ghost. They are on a mission to find the monster medicine to save their village because everybody in the monster village has contracted the monster flu and they might all die. So it is a serious situation, but they go on this adventure. They are, of course, bratty little boys and, you know, the same kind of hijinks that you would expect from a shonen, young shonen adventure is what you get in this story. But it's just really super cute. The drawings are cute. The characters are fun, and you get a whole chapter in color, which is just delightful. I love this story. I love Akira Toriyama. I've said it before, I think this might be my favorite of his stories. I think it's just like, it's so compact and perfect. Yeah, I recommend it, and you should check it out. Particularly at Halloween. This is the perfect time. I don't think I've recommended this before, but I'm sure you've heard of it. Yu Yu Hakusho by Yoshihiro Togashi. This is the same author as Hunter x Hunter. And this is a story about Yusuke Urameshi. He is kind of a junior high-aged gangster, you know, and he's always getting into trouble, and he doesn't really have any promising prospects. But he does have one childhood friend who kind of believes in him. Something happens, and he's not, kind of proves that he's not as evil as he kind of makes himself out to be. He saves a boy who's chasing after a ball who kind of runs out into the street and is about to get hit by a car, and so he saves him and is hit by the car instead and dies, and so he ends up kind of going on a journey to get his body back, and then later is sort of inducted into the spirit world as a fighter, I guess is basically what's happening. So there's a number of different situations that he gets himself into. It is, you know, basically a fighting manga, but the characters in this are so great, and the situations are really great, and the tournament arc is really fantastic. The powers are great in this. It is so much fun to read, and I really, really love it. If you were waiting for Togashi to finish Hunter x Hunter, and you're just like, why is he never finishing it? At least you have something else to read, and you should be reading this because it is fantastic. It is so much fun. I really, really love it. So I definitely would recommend checking out Yu Yu Hakusho, and it's very much, you know, this season appropriate. The last title that I'm going to recommend is a shoujo manga, and it's just a single volume, and that is Gabakawa by Rie Takada. I love Rie Takada, and I particularly love her female lead characters. They have so much spunk, so much personality, and they're so strong-willed, which is just kind of unusual for a lot of shoujo manga. A lot of shoujo manga heroines are a little bit of pushovers. Not Rie Takada's characters. They're just the best. This is a story about a young, I think she's a demon. You know, she's from the underworld. She is now on Earth kind of to wreak havoc. One of the rules for being on Earth is that you must not use your powers to help a human, and if you do, you will lose your powers. You can see where this story is going. So she is on Earth. She's there to wreak havoc. She's also there to impress a boy demon that she's kind of got a crush on, and lo and behold, she accidentally runs into a human boy, and she develops some feelings for him. And yeah, and then you can see the entire plot from what I've told you. It is really cute and fun and adorable, and yeah, Rie Takada just draws beautiful boys and really spunky fun girls, and I always love her relationships that she comes up with. So I would recommend this. It's a lot of fun and really cute romance. So that's it. Those are all the titles I'd recommend. There are so many, and I have more here in the stack that I was going to recommend to you, but this video is getting long enough, so I'm going to stop here. If you have any recommendations of sort of Halloween type reads, you know, monsters and yokai and witches and all those kind of things, but are not scary, leave them down below in the comments and we can definitely check them out. I'm certainly always interested in reading more titles like this. I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.